Hey y'all, what's up? My name is Kelsey K, otherwise known as KelseyKMUA, and I wanted to thank you so much for being here today. Well guys, we are going to go ahead and be learning about eyeshadow basics today. I have had so many people asking me like, oh my gosh, like how do you do your eyeshadow? Oh my gosh, like I could never do that. And I'm just like, girl, yes you can. Yes, you can. I did not just wake up one day and be like, you know what, I think I'm just gonna be excellent with eyeshadow today. Like, do I think I'm the best? Absolutely not. But did I wake up knowing one day just how to do what I'm doing now? Absolutely not. It takes patience and practice. So I'm gonna go ahead and share with you a couple of my tips and tricks that'll help you become excellent with eyeshadow as well. Okay guys, so for today's eyeshadow palette, what I'm going to be using is the Jaclyn Hill palette. This is the original Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. The reason why I chose this one is because A, the shade range in here is absolutely great. You have lots of mix of like nice like warm tones as well as your nice cool tones. Got a nice like highlighting shade in here as well, and a great mixture of shimmers and mattes. And plus I feel like this palette is a very, very accessible palette. You can purchase this at pretty much anywhere where Morphe products are sold, so either like at Ulta or Morphe.com or a Morphe store or whatever. So this is what I wanted to use today. I don't know what type of look I want to do today, but I think I should play around with maybe more of like the nice and like neutral tones, maybe like some brown, something that's not too intimidating for some of you who might not really know how to navigate an eyeshadow palette, so we'll go ahead and start there. But first, let's go ahead and prime the eyelids. For eyeshadow primer, I'm going to go ahead and use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Eye Primer. This stuff like really packs a punch, so you have to be extremely careful when using this eyeshadow primer, but I really like it because it cancels out a lot of the tone that is underneath. You have to be very careful when using it because it will get everywhere if you are not careful, like right here. You know what, I think I'm actually just gonna go ahead and take this on a brush. That might be a little bit easier. Yeah, so if you're using this eyeshadow primer, I definitely recommend using a brush so that then it'll be a little bit easier to place the product where you want it. You can even use this shade to carve out your brows if you're a little bit more fair like I am. This is a very light toned eyeshadow base. So if you have a deeper skin tone, you might want to try something that's a little bit deeper. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and take a makeup wipe and just kind of like wipe off the excess of whatever was left on from that eyeshadow primer off of my brush because I have a feeling I'm gonna want to use this brush later. Okay, so when you are first going in with your eyeshadow, you want to apply what we like to call a transition shade. So your transition shade is going to be the shade that is going to go between the space underneath your eyebrow and the rest of the color that is going to be on the rest of the lid. So depending on what type of look you're going to be creating, you definitely want to first go in with your transition shade to really make sure that everything else is going to blend out seamlessly. I think I want to do something kind of warm tone today, so I'm going to go ahead and take this shade right here called Butter. And I'm just gonna go ahead and dip in and just kind of go right in and very gently, holding my brush towards the back of the handle, I'm going to apply that product here into the crease. I want to create my crease a little bit higher than where my natural crease is. Here, now it's a little bit easier to see. So my natural crease line is right here, goes right through the center of my lid, because I do have hooded eyes. So when I am applying my crease shade, I want to make sure that I am applying my transition shade right up here to essentially create the illusion that my crease is a lot higher than it actually is. So this is going to create the illusion that my eyes are bigger than they actually are. So what I'm really trying to do and focus on with this transition shade is that I want to bring this out a little bit closer here to the tail of the brow and almost more of like a diamond type shape. What this is going to do is this is going to lift and elongate the eye look. And now kind of just like wiggling my brush back and forth. I'm going just a little bit more. The cool thing about eyeshadow is that you don't want to go in with like a ton of pigment on your brush in your first initial application. You can always go in and build up the intensity of the eyeshadow, but it's a lot harder to blend stuff out when you've applied too much product, and that goes for pretty much anything. Bronzer, blush, highlighter, everything. Eyeshadow, like you want to make sure that you're starting off small and then working your way up. Okay, so now that that initial transition shade is laid down, I'm gonna go ahead and define the crease just a little bit more with a deeper brown shade. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take this shade right here in the palette called Roxanne, and I'm just going to gently dip into that, and making sure that I know kind of where I want it, I'm going to very, very, very gently, there we go. I wanna make sure that my product placement matches where I want it to go. And now once you have seen where you want your eyeshadow to go, you can hold your brush a little bit closer to the bristles to get more of a precise blend. I'm going back and forth and taking windshield wiper motions to really deposit that color through the socket. And now that I have the initial amount of pigment laid down in that shade, I'm gonna go back and keep dipping in and building up the intensity until it's where I want it to be. Personally, when I'm building up intensity like this, I like to take windshield wiper motions to really make sure that I am depositing this pigment in the socket right in the same spot. Okay, and so on a brush with no product on it, I'm just gonna go ahead and diffuse the edges of where I have applied that eyeshadow, and I'm just gonna go ahead and blend out and diffuse those edges. It's very, very important to keep a clean blending brush on hand that you have no additional product on to really make sure that you are diffusing. See, do you see the difference between this and this? It's like eyeshadow, no eyeshadow, and then this is like that really, really nice, like soft gradient. Do I do this all the time when I film? Absolutely not. Do I do it when I want to look snatched when I'm going somewhere? Absolutely. Like if I'm going to a party, like you can bet your bottom dollar that it's taken me like a good hour, hour and a half, sometimes even 2 hours to do my makeup, but that's just me. It doesn't have to take you forever to get ready. But like on a really special occasion, like your wedding or a graduation day, you know, something where you want, something where you're gonna be very heavily photographed. Nice to kind of spend that extra time to pamper yourself and make yourself feel pretty. Next, on more of like a fluffy shading brush, I'm going to go ahead and take a deeper brown shade to really define the outer V of the eye. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and take a mixture between this shade and this shade. I'm gonna mix them. I believe this is Jax and Chip. And gently mix these two together. Just kind of like dipping and tapping into each shade like this, and then tapping off that excess. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially create like a V here on the outside of the eye to really define and elongate the eye. So very, very gently going to place the shade where I want it, creating that nice V, using very, very gentle back and forth stroking motions. And then using my clean blending brush to go back and forth and diffuse out the edges. I'm just gonna go ahead and take that brush again to kind of just stroke out a little bit more to kind of just elongate the eye. There we go. So see how like when I look forward, it's like, whoop, so pretty. Okay, next to go all over the lid, I'm going to go ahead and take this shade right here in the corner called Little Lady. And what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna go ahead and take my brush here into the shade. Ooh, picks up a lot of color, holy crap. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start first here, very, very, very lightly applying the shade, starting at the inner corner of the eye, and then kind of working my way to the outer corner. Using this brush, since it does have such a nice fine round tip at the top, is gonna help me create almost like a cut crease effect without actually having to cut my crease with concealer. And then using small back and forth motions, going to wiggle my brush back and forth to blend those two shades together. Okay, so now that the top of the lid is all done, we can go ahead and go in with the lower lash line. Going back in with our transition shade right here, Butter, I'm gonna run that through the entirety of the lower lash line. I'm using a very, very light, small brush to be very, very delicate through the eye area. And then slowly kind of working my way down, using less and less pressure as I go through and blend in the eyeshadow. Okay, and then taking that brush that we used for that outer V shade, I'm not gonna add any additional product because there's still a lot of pigment here on this brush. And I am just going to very, very gently wiggle that back and forth on the outer third of the lower lash line. Okay, and then going back to that clean blending brush, I'm just gonna go ahead and diffuse those shades together in the lower lash line. actually already did a lot of highlighting previously. If you didn't already see my how to highlight video, I will go ahead and link that in the description box down below. But I am going to go back over and highlight my brow bone and the inner corner as well. I'm going to go ahead and use this shade right here called In Light. Just pop that here on the inner corner, and I'm also just going to go ahead and kind of drag that in about just a teensy weensy bit of the way. And then kind of up a little bit more, kind of leading almost on the inside of where that contour was on our nose, or my nose, whoever's nose. Just with whatever was left on the brush. Really, oh, this shade packs such a punch, goodness gracious. My hair is in the way. I'm just gonna go ahead and touch up my nose contour here, just here in between the brows, leading down the nose. I did get quite a bit of fallout here from one of those deeper shades here on my nose, but we're gonna go ahead and clean that up in a second. Okay, so not adding anything additionally to this brush, I am just gonna go ahead and flick upwards to get rid of any of the eyeshadow that might have fallen here onto the sides of my nose, and it'll kind of blend in with the bronzing and contouring that we did previously. Beautiful! Okay, y'all, so this here is the finished eyeshadow look. I really, really like the way that this came out. This is something very, very simple that you guys can kind of do at home, really only using about 4 or 5 shades. Now, to some people, I feel like that sounds like a lot just because eyeshadow for some people can be really overwhelming because they really don't know what to do, and sometimes it can be kind of confusing. But I really, really hope that this was a great way for you to take your eyeshadow to the next level, and don't be afraid to try something new. One of the biggest tips that I can give to anybody is to making sure that you have the right tools. I'm not saying you have to go out and spend $200–300 on a bunch of different brush sets. The brushes I am using are actually from BH Cosmetics. I actually picked these up in a cute little set from Kohl's. I want to say that each of my brush sets from BH Cosmetics was under $30, and sometimes I think you can even get them on sale. Kohl's Cash is always like a thing. There's always lots of great ways to save money. Obviously, Morphe brushes are super inexpensive. I actually picked up a brush kit while I was on spring break down in Florida. I did pick up myself a nice little like pro brush kit, and even that was like $78, which is not obscenely expensive. So I definitely want to encourage you to make sure that you have the right tools, or at least have the right tools for you. What might be the right tools for you might not be the right tools for somebody else. If you feel like you can create this entire look with only like 1 or 2 brushes, girl, go for it. I am all for that. But just making sure that you have the right tools for you and your skill level. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching today. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a big old thumbs up. It helps other people find the video. And if you want to help other people find this video even faster, you can share this video, and make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the little notification bell so you can see more videos of me doing stuff like this. Thank you so much. I love you guys so much, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye y'all.